On my first day as the only data analyst on the team, I remember asking a very simple question. I thought, who reviews dashboards and my reports before they go to leadership and key stakeholders in the organization? And they said, you do. How? And I remember smiling, pretending that was fine. But of course it wasn't. In my mind, I was thinking, how am I supposed to grow if I'm the most data savvy person in the room? Like the only data person in an organization. No mentor, no code reviews, no one to challenge my thinking or my assumptions. No one at all. So if you're in that same position or in that same shoes right now, if you're the only data person on your team, this video is just for you, because this situation can either accelerate your career or quietly stall it. And most analysts don't even realize which one is happening to them at the time. But here's the real issue I've noticed when you're a junior or a mid-level analyst inside a mature data team. You grow naturally because there's a better structure. There's a senior data analyst, there is a line manager, a supervisor, data engineers, data scientists, and all of that. And that also means there's someone to constantly review your queries and provide valuable feedback for you. There's also someone to question your assumptions, to probe your thought process, to ask you, why are you taking this approach to this particular problem? And that also means that there's someone there to show you a better approach or alternative. So you're basically leaning on their own experience. But what happens when you're the only one? You might struggle with a dashboard for several months without realizing that your connection string is wrong. You might battle with an SQL script that runs for 10 hours without realizing you could have actually optimized that query from the get-go. But there's no one to tell you this, and I think that's dangerous, especially for beginners, for junior analysts just starting out their career, because the biggest risk isn't failing on the role. I think it's the fact that you think you're improving when you're not. That being said, let's talk about some mistakes I've seen solo analysts make. The first one is over-relying on courses. Taking more courses is good. Courses are great, and I'm not gonna lie. But growth in data isn't just about learning new techniques. I think it's about making decisions with ambiguity, handling messy business problems. It also involves the ability to explain insight clearly, especially when your stakeholders are non-technical. And I can imagine if you're the only data person in your team, you most likely have a lot of non-technical stakeholders. It's also about designing metrics correctly, because that skill is something no course can teach you, no course can replicate your company's context. So if you're only consuming content and not pressure testing it in real projects, in real scenarios, and practicing on your own, you're staying too comfortable, and growth doesn't happen in comfort. So because you're not alone on this journey, I'm gonna hold your hand while I share some really important practical things that you can do to help you work around this situation. The first one, very, very important, is to build your own feedback loop. And I'm gonna explain what I mean by that. If you do not have a senior data analyst, you definitely need to manufacture feedback on your own. And I'm not saying you should do something extraordinary. It's simple. Get external peer reviews. You can join data communities for this. Post anonymized queries and ask, either on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, or whatever channel you use. For example, you can ask, how would you improve this query? You'll be shocked how much you will learn from that, because people are really willing to help more than you think. The second thing I think you can do is to reverse engineer senior analyst approach. You can find analysts that you admire on LinkedIn or YouTube. For me, I have like a list of them. One of them is Alex the Analyst. I really admire his approach to problem solving. So you can study how they structure their dashboard, how they explain their approach, how they think through problems, and how they even frame their insights. So you're like treating it like a game film, and you're going to learn so much from that as well. The third thing is to ask better questions internally. So even if no one on your team knows SQL, I'm sure they know the business, they know the operations in and out, and they know the pain points of the organization. So instead of just telling them, Here's the dashboard for the operations team, or here's the dashboard I built for the finance team. Ask the key person you know will be using the dashboard or the data solution that you've built on a day-to-day. Ask them these questions. Does this help you make better decisions? Does this report or this dashboard, does it make your work easier? What am I missing? Is there a key metric that I'm meant to be paying attention to make this dashboard or reports much more valuable to you? What would make this more useful? Can you notice the shift? So you are focusing less on ticking a box, but rather you are moving to impact and not just on the technical skills. Because I can imagine if you are the only data analyst in your team, that means a larger percentage of your stakeholders and your audience, they are non-technical audience. So you need to bear this in mind. And moving on to the second mistake that I see solo analysts make is hiding behind execution. When you are solo, it's easy to become the dashboard person, the one who just pulls reports, pulls data here and there. And you notice that all you do on a daily basis is just to build reports, to take tickets, to fix numbers and all of that. But growth really happens when you move from just executing tasks to owning those tasks. And how can you do that? It's simple. Ask questions like this. Why are we even tracking this? What decisions does this metric drive? Is this even the right KPI we're meant to be tracking? What that does is that you are not just solving a task, rather you are trying to have a deep understanding about the problem so that you know how best to approach it. And here's another way you can move from just completing tasks to driving much more impact. So no one is assigning you other problems, right? Then assign them to yourself. For example, you can rebuild a messy dashboard from scratch. You can also try to redesign a metric definition, documents, or even automate a manual process, whatever it is for you. Just ensure that you are doing something, you are assigning to yourself something a little bit more challenging than what you would ideally do on a daily basis. Because really, growth doesn't wait for permission. Just go get it. And here's the reframe that changed everything completely for me. Being the only data analyst in my team when I started out in my career seemed like a disadvantage, but it wasn't. I truly think it forced me to assume leadership early, because at that point, I wasn't just learning SQL. Now you're learning stakeholder management, prioritization of tasks, because everyone wants your attention. You're learning strategic thinking. You're also learning decision influence, because really at the core of every data solution is the ability of your recommendation to cause about a change in the decision of your stakeholders. So that's really a great privilege that I think you should really take advantage of. And if you use it right, you would outgrow analysts who only ever executed tasks and tickets, who only did what they were told to do, like do this task, and they didn't think outside of the box. If you're the only data person on your team right now, know this for certain: you are not stuck. You're just early in your leadership phase. And remember to build feedback loops, create stretch projects, obsess over impact, not just completion of tasks. And when you do this, you notice something. You won't just grow, rather you will accelerate in your career journey. So if this helped you feel a little less isolated as a solo analyst in your organization right now, that's exactly why I made this channel. So let me know in the comments, are you currently the only data person on your team? I read every single one, so I would like to hear it. See you in the next one. Bye.